Hi, my name is Kamru Biswas. I'm from Bangladesh. I would prefer to call me Cam. I have moved to America in 2013. Today I'm here to speak to some wonderful people. So I would like to introduce Dipika and Anuz.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, that was such a great introduction to our podcast and us.
Yeah, have you ever worked for a media? Seems like you worked for a media.
Cam, tell us, when did you come to America?
Well, I moved from Bangladesh to America in June 2013.
And then what were you doing in Bangladesh during those times?
Back home, I was actually working for a Norwegian company who is apparently the biggest telecommunication provider in Bangladesh.
What is that called?
That was called Grameenphone, and the parent company was called Telenor.
You came here in 2013, and when did you get your first professional job as a banker, which you are doing right now?
I started my career in banking in 2015, I think. Yes, that was 2015 that actually I started my journey as a professional banker. When I first moved out here, I was doing different jobs here and there,
Right.
but that was just to start with. And as you know, that those are jobs, not a career.
Those are surviving jobs.
Those are surviving
right,
jobs,
which we all
absolutely, yes.
immigrants go through.
Right, absolutely. So in my mind, I always wanted a career, not a job. I wanted to find out something that is actually related to my previous work experience. As a new immigrant in this country, there was a lot of challenges that we had to go through. Like all of us who are immigrants here, we all know that we have to go through. There are so many barriers. Like your language is one, your previous work experience, and synchronizing all these with the requirements of these current employers. It's a big challenge. But apparently, I guess I went through.
Cam, how many job interviews did you go through before you got into this particular job that you are already doing?
Well, in that case, I would have to say I was lucky. It was my first interview that they really liked me and they offered me the position.
What held you back? You came in 2013 and you got this job in 2015.
Right.
What was holding you back in between?
Well, moving into a new country, getting to know the environment, the requirements, the job fields, it's especially Bangladesh being a third world country, we have, although social media brought everything together, but at the same time, you know, the background, the way you present yourself, the way you switch from one place to another one, getting to know the requirement, the trends, all these were holding me back. And at the same time, when I was doing some jobs, I actually prepared myself. I used to look at different employment opportunities that actually inspired me to mold myself according to requirements of this country.
Can you be more specific about the preparation you did, in order to get this job?
In my life, I have sat for many interviews, job interviews, and I have taken also many job interviews. So my basic training, I would say, it's actually not for me. I would suggest it to anyone who's like sitting for a job interview is when you're sitting for a job interview, you make sure that you read the requirements very well.
Okay.
Like what are they actually asking for? And then you correlate that with your experience. The experience that you have. For me, I used to work in sales, and now I'm a banker. I mean, this is absolutely like a flip side of the coin, you can say. But this big career switch happened only because I could relate my experience, previous experiences, and correlate them with the requirements of the financial institute, and that actually helped me out.
Like if you have to give an example, like demonstrate what are some of the transferable skills that you had back then in sales profession
Right.
that you found matching with the jobs that you're doing right now?
Right. Like I mentioned, I was in sales. So being a sales guy, I always had to know the product features. Product feature is one of the major things that you need to know if you're placing something. That is for sales. For banking, it's kind of like the same. How? Because if you go to a bank, what do? You go to do a transaction, and you go to open an account. You want to go for investments. you want to make sure that you get more out of your money or you get more services. So exactly the same way, once you get to know the product features, so you will get that vibe, like what is it that the employer is actually asking for. That's one. Two is your experience of previous experience. Take an example of your previous experience and then correlate it with the requirements. For example, if they ask for you have to be prompt and a team player, and at the same time they want you to be in a leadership position, which I am right now playing. So in those cases, you just correlate all your previous experiences where you actually had to work in a team. At the same time, if you ever have done something for the team or given an opinion within the team that actually made that was beneficial for the team, you take one of those examples, you correlate this with the situation, and then present yourself.
One more thing, because I have had so many job interviews. I wasn't like as lucky as you, because I've had so many job interviews till I got this job, which I'm doing as a video producer at thestreet.com. And I just wanted to know, like, how did you crack that first interview? You know, because I still remember my first interview, and I was so nervous. You know, like the first question they would always ask to anybody, like, tell me about yourself.
When an employer actually asks you, like, tell me about yourself, you should always keep in your mind that what they actually want to know is how do you relate your experiences with the current requirement. So when they ask you, tell me about yourself. So you should always focus on those benefits or experiences that is related to the position that you're actually applying for.
Oh, interesting.
For example, if you're applying for how do I say it, a marketing job. So, but your previous experience is, I would say, like a film producer, right? or a vlogger. So, if you're a vlogger, what do? You actually present your interviewee or a topic, and how do you break down that topic? So that's what you do, right? So exactly, you know how to present somebody. So for a marketing interview, you should always present that same thing, like, oh, tell me about yourself. Oh, I used to work in marketing. I was a vlogger in the vlog fields. Then that's where you turn to relate your experience with the position that's offered. And that's how you get interest, get their attentions. Sometimes they will ask you, like, what is your strength? You can say, oh, I am a good team player. A lot of people say that. But how are you a team player? Because everybody, if you're working in a team, you have to be a team player. There's no other options. And if I'm the employer, I'm actually looking for somebody who will be a team player, but at the same time, I can relate him as a successor of this company. So what happens is, like, if you're saying I'm a team player, then you add something to it, like, oh, I'm a team player, but I'm also a very good decision maker.
Okay.
So that's where you stand out. And for your weakness should always include something that you can work on.
Okay.
Such as, for example, if you say, oh, tell me about your weakness. I'm a perfectionist.
Okay.
So how is perfectionist your weakness? So I'm a perfectionist, and sometimes that's why I struggle. Do not say I miss. You should be always careful when you're choosing your words.
Okay.
That's why sometimes I struggle in meeting the deadline.
Okay.
And do not forget, next time your interviewer will definitely ask you, like, oh, so what are you doing about it? What are you doing to come over it? What are you doing to rectify yourself? What are you doing to come out of your weakness? You can say, like, oh, right now I break down my task and make sure that I finish each task and then move on to the next one. So I have a time frame, so I meet my time frame.
As Anuz was mentioning that he had gone through several job interviews in the year 2018.
Right.
And then at one point of time, he was so fed up with interviews and being rejected after getting in the shortlisted group. So he told me that I am fed up of wearing formals for all my interviews. From onwards, I will just wear jeans. I know I will not even get hired, so I will go and wear jeans.
Right.
So what is your take on appearance when you go to attend interviews?
So honestly speaking, if I'm the employer, my first, because listen, an interview session lasts 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah, not more than that.
And you do not get much time to judge a person.
Right.
So appearance comes first. I would suggest for anybody
Mhm.
who is going for an interview to dress up properly.
Okay, but what is properly? I don't understand
Properly
this, Cam.
means that interview, that job field related.
Okay.
So if I'm going for an IT interview,
Mhm.
obviously IT fields, I'm not, no disrespect to anyone,
right,
but
right.
in my IT interview, I can actually pull out my dresses in a semi-formal way to a formal way.
Okay, got it.
But if it's a business interview, if it's financial field related interview, I would definitely recommend going for a formal dress.
Mhm.
And then again, if it's a marketing related interview,
Mhm.
depends what kind of. For example, if you're going for an interview in a marketing company or like an advertisement firm or something like that,
Mhm.
I would suggest like try to be formal at the same time try to show that you can actually represent yourself.
Okay.
So appearance carries a major role in any interview, because first thing the interviewer sees in you is your appearance.
Right.
That's what makes them interesting. If I would have come here with a, I don't know, with a leather jacket and a hoodie and a bandana on my head, my appearance, no matter how like well I speak, wouldn't carry that value, because packaging is a major issue, a major point.
I think I saw this line which said overdressing never hurts an interview. Is that right?
I would suggest yes, to some extent that is right, but it depends like how overdressed you are.
Okay.
I can certainly speak about business interviews.
Right.
So you cannot actually go overdressed on a business interview, but you can if you're going for an informal interview. And also at the same time, you should always point this that where the interview is taking place.
Okay.
Some of the interviews are taken outside, in a hotel, in a restaurant, in a park,
Yeah.
or in a cafeteria,
Like over lunch or over
over
coffee.
lunch and over coffee. So you don't need to be very formal, or
Right.
you don't have to be like so sturdy that you don't feel comfortable.
Right.
But at the same time, if the interview is in an office building, in an office room, you have to. I would suggest you should dress up formal,
Okay.
because if you're outside, if you're eating, because you need to be comfortable. You don't want to strangle yourself and I don't know, spill foods all over you. That's going against you basically.
Okay, got it. I've learned a lot after this interview, and they might wanna get some advice from you in terms of professional development, in terms of job cracking. Are you comfortable sharing your email address with them?
They can reach out at KAMRU dot B as boy, I S as Sam, WAS at gmail.com.
Okay, if you are emailing Cam, make sure you write at the end of the day in the subject title so that Cam knows where these emails are coming from. Thank you so much, Cam, for this
Most
wonderful
welcome,
interview.
guys, and good luck
Yeah.
for our podcast. Whoever is watching this,
It's time to say bye-bye. So we will catch you next week. Keep tuning to our podcast,
And-
keep subscribing, and keep sharing the podcast.
And we would like to thank Arnik, who has given us this wonderful venue.
So ARNIC stands for Andrew Rome New Immigrant Center, and it provides English language courses and courses to make you familiar with American culture. And all of these courses are targeted at young new immigrants like you and me. So definitely you can contact ARNIC and join here for all the English classes and the wonderful resume building and professional skill development classes that ARNIC offers. So we will catch you next week. Keep watching our podcast, listening our podcast, and spread the word on podcast. So, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey guys, a quick note. If you have a personal story that you think might be helpful to the newly arriving immigrants in the US, please contact us. We would love to feature you in our podcast. Go to our website, podcast@theendoftheday.com, and write to us by going to the feedback section.
And by the way, if you love this podcast, you can support us with a small donation. Your help will enable us to continue producing more episodes. The link to support our podcast is in the description below.